Yes, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Ma'am, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Dr. Beena, ma'am?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir,
You're
you're
audible,
audible.
sir. So am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Am I
thank you.
audible, sir?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes. Yes. Very good morning, madam. Very good morning, madam. Very good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Very good morning. Very good morning. Very happy to see you, madam. Thank you very much for joining with us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning to one and all present here. I welcome you all for the 3-day virtual international science talk on Nobel Prize 2022 topics. The SRM Institute of Science and Technology, formerly known as SRM University, is one of the top ranking universities in India with over 20,000 students and 1,500 faculty offering a wide range of undergraduate, postgraduate, and doctoral programs in engineering, management, medicine, and health sciences, science and humanities. Foreign faculty, flexible and dynamic curriculum, exciting research, and global connections are the features that set SRM apart. Students have a wide choice of cutting-edge programs, including nanotechnology, bioinformatics, genetic engineering, remote sensing, and GIS, embedded systems, or computer forensics to choose from. Most of these courses are offered in close collaboration with foreign universities. Nearly 80% of the students are from outside Tamil Nadu. Over 150 students sponsored to 35 foreign universities like MIT, Carnegie Mellon, UC Davis, Warwick, and Western Australia. SRM has been accredited with NAC with the highest A++ grade in the year of 2018, valid for next 5 years. Top salary 39 lakhs offered by Adobe, nearly 100% placement of registered students with the companies TCS, Wipro, Cognizant, Infosys, Siemens, and others. With this a short introduction, I invite Dr. N. Asokan sir, head of the Department of Physics, SRM IST, to brief about this program and welcome address. Sir, please take over the session, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Warm greetings and very good afternoon to one and all present here. Alfred Nobel envisioned a better world. He believed that people are capable of helping to improve society through knowledge, science, and humanism. This is why he created a prize that would reward the discoveries that have conferred the greatest benefit to humankind. Scientists often have to wait decades to have their work recognized by the Nobel judges, who want to make sure that any breakthrough withstand the test of time. To inspire generations and disseminate knowledge about the Nobel Prize through educational efforts and digital outreach, Department of Physics, SRM IST Ramapuram campus is organizing a 3-day virtual international science talk on Nobel Prize 2022 topics on April 4, 5, 6, 2023. This science talk aims to stimulate discussion at the highest level on a topical science related theme by bringing together university professors, lawmakers, leading educationists, academic scientists, researchers, and scholars in the domain of interest from around the world. This initiative seeks to bring the students and researchers into closer contact with the worldwide scientific community, and especially with an audience of young scientists. By bridging science and society, it is an opportunity to stimulate thinking, excite imagination, and inspire greatness. More than 500 participants registered for this program. Participants from all over the world, including all parts of India, Indonesia, German, Pakistan, Tanzania, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Turkey, Brazil, and Sultanate of Oman. Esteemed guests, distinguished guests, dedicated participants from all over the world, it's my great honor and privilege to welcome you all to the International Science Talk on Nobel Prize 2022 topics. We would like to extend a warm welcome to our most respected and beloved Dean, Sir, Dr. Murali Krishna, Dean Engineering and Technology, SRM IST Ramapuram. Welcome, sir. First and We are very delighted to welcome our chief guest, Dr. Mrs. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General, Association of Indian Universities, who graciously accepts our invitation to be with us. Madam is a remarkable individual who has achieved a great success and is a true inspiration for many. And we are honored today to have Madam grace us with her presence. Welcome, Madam. Next, we would like to extend a warm welcome to our guest of honor, Dr. Kalpana Gopalan, IAS, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Karnataka, who graciously accepts our invitation to be with us to deliver a special address. Her words of wisdom and encouragement will undoubtedly motivate our participants. Welcome, Madam. It gives immense pleasure in welcoming all the participants from all over the world for inauguration ceremony of International Science Talk on Nobel Prize 2022 topics. Once again, welcoming you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your nice introduction. I welcome Dr. Veena ma'am to introduce the chief guest, Dr. Pankaj Mittal ma'am. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to all. It is my privilege to introduce our chief guest, Dr. Mrs. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General of the Association of Indian Universities, the second Women Secretary General of the Association in its 97 years of existence. Prior to joining AIU, she has been serving the higher education sector, especially university education, for more than 3 decades at the apex regulator of higher education, the UGC of India. Dr. Mrs. Pankaj Mittal is a Fulbright scholar and has been a topper in MSc and PhD in agricultural statistics from IARI, New Delhi. Dr. Mittal earlier served as a first regular Vice Chancellor of Bhagat Phool Singh Mahila Vishwavidyalaya, Kanpur, the first rural women university of North India in 2008 at a young age of 4 years. Dr. Mittal has visited a number of countries like USA, Canada, UK, Australia, China, South Korea for academic purposes for presenting papers in international conferences. Dr. Mittal is also the recipient of the following awards and honors like Fulbright Nehru Scholarship Grant, President of India Award in 2017, Honorary Doctorate, Kumpro Gold Standard Award. Dr. Mittal served as a member of various high-powered committees and professional bodies, including Future of Education of NITI Aayog, Government of India, and General Assembly of Indian Council for Cultural Relations, New Delhi. She has published a number of papers, articles, occasional papers, and research on issues relating to higher education and women empowerment in national and international journals. With this, now I request Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Madam, to take over the session. Please, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Veena, for a very, very generous introduction, rather very long introduction. And thanks to Dr. Ashokan, not only for inviting me, but also for organizing this very, very important program. Because every year the Nobel Prizes are given, but the common man, or not exactly common man, but the students, because when the Nobel Prizes are given, it is given in some very, very jargon that this Nobel Prize is given for this particular purpose. So a student is not able to understand why this Nobel Prize is given. So he has taken it upon himself to organize a 3-day workshop to acquaint the students on why these Nobel Prizes are given. So this is something which is very, very commendable, very, very remarkable. So my compliments to Dr. Ashokan for this particular program and for organizing this. And this will go a long way in developing that type of a scientific temperament in the students so that they can also do better. And one day they also feel that, yes, I should be winning a Nobel Prize. A Nobel Prize, as you all know, were started in 1901, and we have 5 Nobel Prizes in physics, chemistry, physiology or medicine, literature, and peace, and one more in economics, which was later added by the one Severages Riksbank. Therefore, we have 6 Nobel Prizes, but there's no Nobel Prize in mathematics. That is sometimes surprising to many people, that why don't we have a Nobel Prize in mathematics? But then there is a Fields Medal, which is considered as equivalent to Nobel in the mathematics. And there's no reason, some people say that Nobel had a girlfriend who was not, who had in turn another boyfriend who was a mathematician, therefore he didn't want to like him, therefore he didn't institute a Nobel Prize in mathematics. But all these are something, we cannot, not an authentic news. Therefore, people say that it was not there because he was not particularly interested in mathematics or theoretical mathematics. So therefore, he didn't institute a prize in mathematics. But how did the Nobel Prize come into being? That is something very, very interesting. So you know that Alfred Nobel, he died in 1895, and before that he was a very good researcher. He was a scientist. He was a chemist. He was a engineer. And once Alfred Nobel, he was born in 1833, and he was a chemist, engineer, and inventor. So once his brother died, and that was in 1888. So his brother died, and the newspapers thought that the Alfred Nobel has died. So they published an obituary in the name of Alfred Nobel, and the heading was "The Merchant of Death is Dead." And why was that? Because he had invented dynamite, which was used in bombs and many, many destructive activities, also apart from the good things. So it said the merchant of death is dead. And the Alfred Nobel, who had not died, his brother Ludwig was the one who died. And there was a confusion. So he felt, this is the way I'll be remembered. This is the way world will remember me when I die. Although he had so many inventions, he was a very, very rich man, because through his inventions, he got a lot of money. And he invented dynamite, again, for which he got a lot of money. So he felt that this is the way the world will remember me, the merchant of death. So he thought I should do something. So he kept on thinking that how should he die so that people don't remember him as a merchant of death, but something very big. So then he thought of, he wrote a will, and he wrote the will many, many times. Every time he changed the will. But when he died in 1896, when he was around 63 years old, and when his will was seen, it was seen that he had donated 94% of his money. And that 94% of the money was very big amount. It was 31 million SEK. SEK is Swedish krona, which was equivalent to, you can imagine at that point of time, how much money it would be. It was equivalent to 186 million US dollars. It was equivalent to 150 million euros. So that type of money was there, which he donated. He said that these 5 Nobel Prizes should be instituted in my name. And now it is very true that Nobel is known for Nobel Prizes, not for the dynamite, not as a merchant of death. He is known for the Nobel Prizes. So it is, I think that if that obituary would not have been there, maybe we didn't have the Nobel Prizes today. So why it is important to have these type of workshops is to arouse curiosity in the students, to make them understand. I remember once I read a story in which it was said that a Nobel Prize winner, somebody asked him, what is the secret of your success? How did you win this Nobel Prize? He says, my secret is my mother. He says, how? He says, whenever I was studying, when that person was studying in the school, and whenever he used to come back from the school, his mother used to ask him one thing: how many questions did you ask in the class? So unless you ask questions in the class, the curiosity, you have also seen that the curiosity in the children is much more than the elders. As we grow up, the curiosity dies down. The number of questions die down as a student or the child is growing up. So that curiosity is very, very important. Unless that curiosity is there, the students cannot have that scientific temperament and that reasoning, and it's very important. For example, another thing which I again remember is that in 1905, Einstein gave a question paper to his friends, to his students. And when the teaching assistant saw the question paper, he came running to Einstein. He says, sir, there is something wrong. Einstein says, what is wrong? So there is something terribly wrong. Sab gadbad ho gaya hai types. This is what happened. He says, so this is the same question paper you gave to the same set of students last year also. So same question paper. How is it possible? So there's something terribly wrong. So Einstein smiled. He said, there's nothing wrong. The question is the same, but the answers are different. The questions are the same, the answers are different. Why? Because in 1904, Einstein published 4 papers, which are also known as Annals of Physics Education, which was relating to theory of relativity is equal to mc square, Brownian motion and all, which changed the very paradigm of physics education. So he wanted to know whether his students have really understood the concept, they have gone through the papers, they have internalized those concepts or not. Therefore, he wanted to see the effect of those papers and whether his students were updated or not. So he said questions are the same, but the answers are different. The way it is happening now with the national education policy also, that before the national education policy and after the national education policy, questions remain the same. What is to be taught, how it is to be taught, how to assess and evaluate the student, but the answers have changed after the NEP. It is same story repeating again. So what I want to say is that the students, that curiosity has to be very much there, for which it is important for the teachers to arouse that curiosity in the students. If they really want to have that scientific temperament in our students, if they really want that they should become something big, who can think and who can invent and who can discover things, that curiosity has to remain. So when I was the vice chancellor of this rural women university, whenever I used to go on rounds, I used to see the teachers holding the book in the hand and they're just reading from the books and the students are just listening. There was not even an eye contact between the teacher and the student. So I used to tell them, well, how can you teach the students without an eye contact? Even if you're speaking and the student is not speaking, but then the body language of the student, the eyes, the body movement, the head, the face, everybody tells whether the student is understanding or not understanding. But if you don't even look towards the student, how will you know whether the student is understanding or not? Therefore, it is important to have a eye contact with the students. And then we devised a very, very novel process of arousing curiosity in the students. So what we did was, you must be aware of a book called Discovered Questions by Professor Yashpal. So there are many, many questions along with the answers. So we started picking up questions from that book, and we used to display it on the notice board saying that this is the question for this week. And for the whole week, I mean, for the whole year, 52 questions were there for 52 weeks. Every week, a new question was put up and the answer was given next week. But till that time, the students were supposed to put the answers in the box. And it became so popular that not only the students, but even the teachers started putting in answers in the box. And what were the questions? Questions were like, every day we eat roti, chapati, puri, paratha. One side is thick, one side is thin. Why? Have we ever thought of it? No, we keep on eating every day. We never think of it. For example, the next question was that we go to the hill stations during the summers because it is cooler there. Even if we travel by air, the pilot announces the outside temperature is minus 35, minus 40 degrees centigrade. Now we are going near the sun, and near the sun it should be hotter. Why cooler? So why does it get cool on the hills or near in the aeroplane, which when it is nearing the sun? Why it is so? That was one question. One question was framed in such a manner that my mother, when she goes out to put the clothes on the line for drying, the clothes dry, but the mother gets wet because of the sweat. So why doesn't the sun dry the sweat? Rather, it induces sweat. Why does it happen? So many questions. For example, if you're sitting in an AC room, the temperature you set in the room is around 24, 25 degrees centigrade. What is the body temperature? 37. So if body temperature is 37, then the matching temperature, that is 37, should be good for us. But at 37, we feel so hot. We say, no, we want 24, 25 because that is a comfortable temperature for us. Why? Why does body need lesser temperature than body's own temperature? I'm not talking of internal temperature. I'm talking of the skin temperature, which we take from the thermometer also. It is 37. So why is it that we like lower temperature than the body temperature? We keep on saying, like, when the blood transfusion is there, we keep on seeing whether it is A, B, O, AB blood group. This mosquito, it bites A person, B person, O, AB. Everybody keeps on biting. Nothing happens to the mosquito. Why? One question was that, okay, you're taking a bath, and when you take bath, you use the soap. Soap is in different colors, red, blue, green, very fancy colors. What is the color of the lather? White. Where does the color go? We don't even see it going down the drain. Where does it go? Why is the sun round? Why is the moon round? Or why is the earth round? Triangle sun would have looked better. So like this, there were so many questions. Like milk, if you're boiling the milk, you have to stand on the head because milk comes out. But why does milk come out? If you say that milk has ghee or oil in it, ghee also doesn't come out, oil also doesn't come out. What is so special about milk that it comes out? Like this, there were hundreds of questions just to build up the curiosity in the minds of the students, because curious students will be the ones who will be learning more, who will be the students who questions more will be learning more. So if the teachers are here, I would be appealing to all the teachers that don't let the curiosity in the child die. If the parents are here, them also I will say, don't let the curiosity die. The child should be very, very curious. I'll tell you one more story. This is supposed to be a dialogue between Neil Bohr and Rutherford. I don't know how much time I have, Dr. Ashokan. Can I go for 5-7 more minutes? Okay.
Yes, madam. Please go ahead, madam. Yes, madam.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So there's a dialogue between Neil Bohr and Rutherford. Supposed to be. I am not very sure. It says, and they had a relationship of student and the teacher. So we'll right now go by this, that there was a student and a teacher. So the teacher asked the student, how will you measure the height of a tower using this barometer? I want you to, this was a Viva question. How will you measure the height of the tower using this barometer? Student was smart. He says, sir, I will use the stairs of the tower, put the barometer like this, put a mark here, then put the barometer like this, put a mark here, put a mark there, like this. I'll keep on marking. And when I reach the top of the tower, I will multiply the number of marks into the height of the barometer, will give me the height of the tower. So I have used the barometer and I have given you the height of the tower. The teacher was very upset. He says, what is this reply? You are a science student, you are giving such a reply, and who will have time to go to the top and keep on marking? The whole day will be wasted in this. This is no reply. So the student says, okay, sir, if you don't agree to that, I'll go to the top of the tower straight away without putting the marks. I'll tie the barometer with a thread. From the top, I will hang the barometer down. As soon as the barometer touches the ground, I will take it off, and the length of the thread will give me the height of the tower. Now, this will not take time, and I have used the barometer, and I have told you the height of the tower. So the teacher says, see, you are a science student. I'm expecting a scientific answer from you, not like this. He says, okay, sir, then what I will do is, if you want a scientific answer, I'll go to the top of the tower with a stopwatch. I will throw the barometer from the top of the tower, see the time it takes to reach and break, and the time taken, I will use the formula S is equal to UT plus half AT square, which we learned in schools. So I'll use the formula S is equal to UT plus half AT square. S, the distance, will give me the height of the tower. Now the teacher, he says, sir, this is scientific answer. I have used the barometer. So the teacher doesn't agree with that. He says, I want my barometer back. I don't want it to be broken. So this is a wrong answer. So I didn't tell that you break the barometer. I want it back. He says, okay, sir, if you don't agree to this and you want a scientific answer, you want the barometer also back, what I'll do is, on a sunny day, I'll put the barometer like this. So the shadow of the barometer I will see, the shadow of the tower I will see, and use the ratio proportions, and the height of the tower will be determined by the size of the shadow and this. And I'll tell you, I use the barometer because the height of the barometer I'm using. And I have told you, and I have not broken the barometer, and it is a scientific answer. So the teacher is really bugged up. He says, okay, suppose there is no sun and there is no shadow, and you want to give a scientific answer, how will you do it? He says, sir, then if you don't agree to any of these answers, what I will do is I'll see the air pressure in the barometer at the bottom. I'll go to the top, again see the air pressure, and the difference in the air pressure will tell me the height of the tower. So the teacher says, if you knew this answer, why didn't you tell me in the beginning itself? He says, sir, I wanted to tell you that there are 5 other answers. So this is a student of today. This is a student of today who knows hundreds of answers, but the teachers of today are mostly wanting to have the answer which is in their mind. If the student doesn't write that answer, gone, 0 number. So that is what the teachers also have to change. So when you organize such type of programs, I feel it helps the teachers, it helps the students, and the mindset changes, that yes, that curiosity, the student wants to learn so many things. For example, you are talking about Nobel Prize of 2022. So Nobel Prize of Physics, if somebody says, who got the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1922? So there will be a straight answer. It came to Alan. I mean, it is shared between three, and you know that Nobel Prize cannot be shared with between more than three people. It has to be one, two, or maximum three, not more than three. So this time Nobel Prize in Physics was shared between three people: Alan Aspect, John F. Clauser, and Anton Jellinger. For what it was given? It was given for experiments with entangled photons, establishing the violation of Bell inequalities, and pioneering quantum information science. Now, this looks like Greek to me. I just don't understand what does it mean, because unless you are a very good student or you are really into it, but a common man is also supposed to know what does it mean, and how, because Nobel Prizes are given for something which you do for the mankind, which will help the humans, which will help the mankind. So how is this jargon going to help us? That is very important for us to know, otherwise the significance of Nobel Prizes are gone. So therefore, this exercise where you are turning this jargon into a simple language, and then with that comes the new things which the student again will start thinking. No wonder, I mean, any day they can also become a Nobel Prize winner one day. Rather, we are waiting for one for a long time. But these type of programs will really help. So I again compliment Dr. Ashokan for organizing this program, because this is very important, especially after the NEP, where we are talking about understanding the concepts, not mugging up, where we are talking of, and when we are in a situation where the future is so uncertain. Like today, if I wanted, I could have told ChatGPT, give me a speech for this occasion, and ChatGPT would have given me a speech and I could have spoken. So when this type of a situation is there, when some student is there, he came to me that coding is my passion. I want to do coding for so many things. So I told him, tell me the problem and the language in which you want the code. So I wrote in ChatGPT, for this problem, give me a coding in C++, and I got the coding. So I told him, so now you tell me, if a person has to employ a coder, they will take it from ChatGPT or you. So obviously ChatGPT, because they are getting it easier, faster, cheaper, free of cost rather. So where will the student be used? When is to be customized, when something new is there. So the students have to update themselves every day. The teachers have to update themselves every day. The curriculum has to revise, not in 3 years, in 3 months. Because nowadays what is happening is the student takes admission, the curriculum is up to date, but by the time the student passes out, the curriculum is obsolete because the changes are so fast. So how to change the curriculum, how to make, I mean, the student should be aware of what is happening around. And thanks to the concepts like Academic Bank of Credit, in which the students are, I mean, there's no limit to learning. Now I keep on telling the student, if you did not get admission in IIT, don't worry. The IIT professor will come to your home and teach you at your convenient time on your laptop, because all the IIT professors, whatever they teach to their students in BTech, that is all recorded under NPTEL, and it is available. There are so many SWAYAM courses from IIT professors. So now learning is not a limit. The only thing is the teachers have to arise that passion in the students, and they have to curate some of the open education resources which are already there, so that the students can go through them and learn. So the future is totally different. The present is also totally different than what it was when we were studying. So all the best to all the students who are here, all the best to all the teachers who are there, and thanks to Dr. Ashokan for inviting me here, and more for organizing this type of a program. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your mind-blowing talk. Now I invite Dr. T. Beena, ma'am, to introduce Dr. Kalpana Gopalan. To introduce Kalpana Gopalan, ma'am, IAS, Additional Chief Secretary, Labor and Janaspandana Public Grievances, Government of Karnataka. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, sir. I'm very proud to introduce Dr. Kalpana Gopalan. IAS is a composite public policy professional. A true versatilist, she wears many hats: practitioner, policy maker, scholar, author, volunteer, and mother. She entered the Indian Administrative Service in 1987, securing the 19th rank in All India Combined Civil Service Examination and reaching the apex scale of Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Karnataka. Her 35-year public service experience spans youth empowerment, training education, sports, land administration, energy, handicrafts, rural development. Dr. Kalpana is nominated as Senior Advisor, India, National Council of News and Broadcasting. She is a recipient of Mother Teresa Women Empowerment Award. She was recognized as a great warrior of humanity by the International Human Rights Advisory Council for her humanitarian services and best practices on COVID-19 prevention. Her contribution as the first district collector of Udupi district in 1997 was recognized and felicitated by the citizens of Udupi on the occasion District Silver Jubilee in 2022. She honed her research skills with a doctorate and master's in public policy from IIM Bangalore. A gold medalist and university topper in her undergraduate and master's, she was visiting fellow at McGill and Concordia universities in Canada. She presents paper in national and international fora and has published 4 books and many journal articles. She is a sought-after speaker and has delivered over 500 talks on different aspects of public policy to national and global audiences. Dr. Kalpana pursues her academic interest as Senior Research Fellow in National Institute of Urban Affairs, New Delhi. Dr. Kalpana volunteers as Chapter Committee Member, IIM BAA, Bangalore. With this, now I welcome Dr. Kalpana Gopalan, ma'am, to take over the session. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Dr. Beena. I think you are specializing in long and generous introductions.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dr. Mrs. Pankaj Mittal, Dr. Murali Krishna, Dr. Ashokan, distinguished dignitaries, fellow speakers, participants in the 3-day virtual International Science Talk on Nobel Prize 2022 topics, organizers from the SRM University, ladies and gentlemen and students. It is customary, while inaugurating a conference or a seminar, to say that it is a pleasure and privilege to be with the gathering. But truthfully, when SRM Institute invited me to deliver the special guest of honor address, in addition to the keynote this afternoon, I was more puzzled than pleased, and with good reason. In itself, a keynote for a conference on such an ambitious subject as a Nobel Prize is challenging enough. But an inaugural address is even more challenging because, in terms of depth and spread, it has to be of relevance to the whole world of knowledge and practice. I have been a practitioner with a lifelong association with scholarship. Or to put it conversely, a scholar with over 35 years of real experience in one of the most challenging professions in public service. This straddling of 2 worlds gives me a unique Genusian perspective that I would share with you this morning. President Kennedy used to quote his favorite lines during the Cuban crisis. And this is how they read. Bullfight critics, row on row, crowd the enormous Plaza de Toro. But only one is there who knows, and he is the one who fights the bull. Therefore, this is the one simple but classic question that I will address this morning. Is theory valid for its own sake or for its relevance and usefulness to the practitioner? Let me detail at the outset the flow of my argument. I will first explore the reasons for the antipathy between theory and practice, ultimately moving to a position that they are validated in each other. Theory may begin as an intellectual exercise, but finds its validation in its usefulness to the practitioner. On the other hand, practice without theory is fragmented and ad hoc. Then I move to the second part of my argument, that the dichotomy between theory and practice is artificial and it is possible to reconcile the two. From that position, another question arises. what kind of theory, which particular discipline is most appropriate for or useful to practice. This is the third part of my argument. The real world, the world of the manager or practitioner, is multifaceted and dynamic. It is non-linear and does not lend itself to neat solutions or a single perspective. Typically, the practitioner is confronted with a situation which she has to manage or handle. Each approach that she might follow is fraught with not one but multiple problems, and their solutions may be conflicting. She has to bring the wealth of her theoretical learning into the management of that situation and find piecemeal specific solutions that make up to a holistic resolution of that situation. So, a multifaceted, multi-perspectived discipline is relevant to practice because that actually is the nature of practice. The real world is multidimensional. A multi-paradigmatic field is especially attractive. This is the essence of my argument. Let us now deep dive into my talk. I begin with the historical perspective of the rift between theory and practice. When Immanuel Kant wrote in his 1793 essay on the common saying that may be correct in theory but is of no use in practice, that is the name of his essay, he unleashed a debate that has reigned for 3 centuries. Kant's focus of attention was ethical theory, the alleged rift between the theoretical and practical in normative philosophical disciplines. But over the years, the theory-practice debate has become marked in fields like sociology, management, organization theory, and public policy. These areas involve a group of people who, unlike doctors, engineers, or scientists, do not rely on technical knowledge for their expertise. Donald Schwann, the author of The Reflective Practitioner, calls these people practitioners, people who can be counted on to do their job, but not necessarily to define it. A number of reasons lie behind the antipathy between theory and practice in the practitioner-based fields. For one thing, practitioners believe that theory cannot capture complexity. Practitioners criticize academics as living in ivory towers, being out of touch with the real world. Academics describe practitioners as too concerned with nuts and bolts, unable to see the big picture. Practitioners often review and reflect upon situations in order to make sense of them, but they reject more systematic theorizing. When practitioners refer to the real world, they often do so when theorists comment on practice but elide context, overlook constraints, take the wrong things for granted, overestimate control, presume unattainable ideals, underestimate dynamism, or translate comprehensible events into incomprehensible variables. When practitioners complain that no one is addressing the real world, these are really complaints about a situated activity and the ability of people to conceptualize activity within a context. The scientific model of theorizing puts off practitioners. A practitioner does look to influential studies for guidance, but often finds advice that is desultory and vague. Recommendations are either narrow or contradictory. Engelhardt evocatively describes, and I quote him, when faced with the very word research, practitioners see a white-robed person floating on a cloud, pontificating polysyllables, interspersed with some recognizable words such as the, and, therefore, but little else that is familiar. The temptation is to tug on the bottom of the white robe with one's dirty hands and say, "Excuse me, I am down here. Please look at me. Would you tell me in plain language, what are you saying so that I can use it?" Humanity is dying down here. And I close his quote. The practical universe is large and diverse. Theories appear unable to capture its complexity. On the other hand, to expect quick, practical, and useful answers in such complexity is unrealistic and unfair to the theorist. Secondly, practitioners are heterogeneous. They come in many levels and many flavors. Even if a theory deals with a specific issue or a policy or a program, its audience is not homogeneous. For example, if a theorist were to take up the issue of rule of law, for instance, who would he address? Practical advice for lawmakers is irrelevant to the policeman. For practitioners who work at the level of specific policies, programs, and projects, it is important to disaggregate an overall governance concept into specific characteristics, effective police organizations and practices, codified laws that effectively regulate individual, group, and organizational behavior, judges trained to apply the law fairly, authoritative processes for conflict resolution, and so on. Third, theory is concerned with what should be, what ought to be. Practice concerns itself with what is. Such normative differences complicate any translation between scholarship and action. Further, theory ignores both the process and the politics of implementation. Theory seeks to rescue policy from the irrationalities and indignities of politics and make policy instead with rational, analytical, and scientific methods. But in actuality, it is not possible to divorce practice either from the process or the politics of organizational or public decision making. Fourth, generic theory does not fit local reality. Third world practitioners like you and I are often unable to relate to theory developed in Western contexts. There is a gap between what is borrowed and what fits. One Chinese scholar lamented that China has yet to develop its own theories. As far as theory building goes, most Chinese scholars merely import. They have borrowed ideas and theories from various schools in the West and applied them to the Chinese context. If scholars continue to borrow ideas, the development of theories to explain and predict phenomena in China will become problematic. Korean scholars also concur that conventional Western theories are not adequate to fully explain what really transpires in the Korean setting. Direct participation in their own Korean system may be a way to root theorists more solidly in the realities and complexities of Korea. The gap between scholars and practitioners seems linked to the fact that scholars largely refer to foreign sources of information and guidance, while the latter take counsel in the local managerial staff and in their own felt experience. Indian scholarship has also to address this gap. Finally, theory creates better theorists, not better actors. If the purpose of a theoretical education is to create more informed actors on the public stage, this is belied in reality. A theoretical education proceeds to create in its own image, to quote the famous words of Alexander Pope, to produce better theorists, not better actors or managers. Action requires more than knowledge. It requires an appropriate set of skills, critical awareness, and confidence. To know about leadership does not make one an effective or a responsible leader. Rather, skills and sensibilities in applying those skills are needed. Effective education is to comprise learning. Effective education is a body of knowledge, acquiring technical and interpersonal skills and developing a sense of maturity that enables the individual to do the right thing at the right time. Much of what business schools teach are readily learned and imitated by any intelligent person. On the other hand, things like communication ability, interpersonal skills, leadership, and most importantly, wisdom, the ability to weave together and make use of different kinds of knowledge are less easily taught. Paradoxically, these are the very skills that lie at the heart of the leadership role in management. Now, on the other hand, there are many who believe that the dichotomy between theory and practice is artificial. That the difference between theory and practice exists more in theory than in practice. As we saw earlier, the whole theory-practice debate seems to be more explicit in fields like sociology, public policy, or organization studies, rather than the pure or hard sciences. There is also some evidence that the dichotomy is not a historical inheritance and may no longer be necessary. Let us look at why. First, there are historical linkages between theory and practice. The intellectual origins of the study of public administration and sociology began with the pioneering work of the Fabian thinkers, Sidney and Beatrice Webb. Their classic studies of local government and poor law administration in England combined rigorous research with practical reform. Their emphasis was on a pragmatic, ethical socialism that led to the establishment of the London School of Economics and Political Science for training an administrative cadre for governance. Second, there has been a steady globalization of knowledge and practice between indigenization and internationalization. The former position advocating a nationalist or a regional perspective, and the latter a worldwide study and international application. Globalization has made governments and organizations not only increasingly aware of global pressures for change and reform, but also relentlessly nudging them towards making decisions that incorporate global constraints and opportunities into domestic agendas. National boundaries are becoming porous and affected by the global environment. The old mode of ad hoc situational problem solving no longer holds good, and drawing patterns and lessons from experiences elsewhere are becoming an imperative. Third, we see a relentless professionalizing of theory. In professional education and action, the clear, hard lines between theory and practice become blurred. Knowledge from several disciplines is of potential relevance in fields like management or public policy. A profession is an applied field rather than a scholarly discipline. It uses theories from a range of formal disciplines, appropriating and resituating them in its own professional context. Professions are also not wholly dependent on imported theories. They create their own theories. These theories may be based on empirical research and conceptual frameworks peculiar to the applied field, practitioner maxims, practical principles, a preferred view or ideology of the profession, or personal theories. If theory and practice are not dichotomous, what is the problem in joining them? Could it be as simple as perception or a lack of communication? If we look at a way to bridge the gap, it appears to lie in a conscious move from self-engagement to other engagement. As we begin to look at theory in professional disciplines, the bridging of the gap between theory and practice becomes a possibility. But this requires that we understand theory in a much wider sense than hitherto. There is a distinction between technical rationality and professional or practitioner rationality. Technical rationality is problem solving made rigorous by the application of scientific theory and technique, and those who practice it, like doctors or engineers, apply general principles of medicine or technology to specific problems to achieve unambiguous results. However, we have increasingly become aware of the importance to professional practice of phenomena, complexity, uncertainty, instability, uniqueness, value conflict, which do not fit the model of technical rationality. Practitioner rationality demands a unique style of approaching problems. Instead of simply problem solving, practitioners need to determine the decision, the context, the ends, and the means. Problems do not present themselves as givens. They must be constructed from problematic situations that are puzzling, troubling, and uncertain. A practitioner must make sense of an uncertain situation that makes no sense. This provides us with an alternative starting point to explore the nature of theory. From a practitioner perspective, the key criteria are utility, effectiveness, and alignment with their goals. We move from an academic position of self-engagement, such as paradigm development, publication, citation, course chain, to alternative parameters of engagement with the practitioner's world through actionable research. When we adopt this view of theory, we expand its meaning beyond the content of academic discourse and publications to include practitioner discourse, public discourse, lay theories, and personal theories. Whether or not they are explicitly acknowledged, theories have a strong influence on how we interpret and understand the world around us. Professions advocate critical thinking and reflection to keep individual practice under critical control, even when it cannot easily be articulated. This helps practitioners to explain, understand, and critique occupational practices and to appreciate new thinking about the role of their profession and new forms of practice. We understand this commonly as best practices, the sharing of best practices. Theories related to the ideology of the profession are important in discussions of its goals and purposes, especially in occupations based on personal interaction with clients. For example, the civil service, to which I myself belong, across the world, it sees itself as neutral, apolitical, able to tell truth to power. A representative of a pharmaceutical company, to take another example, dresses, acts, and interacts in a certain accepted way, quite different from, let us say, a professor. Theories based on practitioner maxims may be found in How to Do It books and are based on domain or cultural knowledge. Theories are also embedded in practices, which are learned without necessarily understanding their theoretical foundation. Such implicit theories can be developed by the aggregation of experiences or by participation in a community for whom certain theories are implicit in their taken for granted world. There is also a distinction between espoused theories, ideologically correct and acquired by education, and theories in use, that is what people actually do and how to reconcile them. Practitioners' implicit theories differ from theories found in academic publications. They are seldom stated but are inferred to explain observed behavior. Thus, those observed are understood as if they are using the in-use theory. So, let me conclude that whether we accept it or not, theory and practice are locked in a marriage of sorts. They are two halves of a whole. Theory is not irrelevant to day-to-day practice. The assumption that practice does not need theory is tantamount to setting sail in a ship without first possessing knowledge of navigation. How would one know that she or he has arrived when there is no course established? Practitioners who assume practice can be effective without the parameters set by theory find themselves simply reacting to whatever the day brings. In common parlance, it is called firefighting. In a similar way, assuming that theory does not need practice is comparable to setting a course without the ship, confident that the course is right for any ship, regardless of its cargo, crew, or ownership. Without practice, where is the ability to field test? What is there to examine or measure without practice? So, it is time for theorists and practitioners to kiss and make up. Practitioners and theorists, practitioners and scholars must realize that they are married to each other and have been for quite some time. Even if this marriage is not very comfortable, neither divorce nor separation is possible. With this matchmaking of theory and practice, I wish the 3-day virtual conference of the SRM University and the SRM Institute of Science and Technology all success. Thank you all and Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really a motivational talk, and you have explained about effective education and about the gap, bridging the gap between the theory and practice. Once again, I'll thank you so much, ma'am. And also, I'll thank Dr. Mrs. Pankaj Mittal, ma'am. It was really a thought-provoking talk. Definitely, as a teacher, we will take it, we'll consider, we'll update ourselves according to the current scenario. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I request Dr. K. Subramaniam, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, to propose a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. As gratitude is a sign of noble souls, it is indeed a matter of immense gratification and honor to propose a vote of thanks at this inaugural function of a 3-day virtual international science talk on Nobel Prize 2022 topics. On my own behalf, as well as the Department of Physics at the SRM-IST Ramapuram campus, the outset, I wish to render my sincere thanks to our honorable and beloved chairman and management committee members and dean for their encouragement and extensive support. We keep on our gratefulness to our distinguished chief guest, Dr. Mrs. Pankaj Mittal, General Secretary, Association of Indian Universities, for sparing her wonderful time from a busy schedule in order to give an inaugural address to the enthusiastic participant. Thank you very much, madam, for your valuable time. You are spending your valuable time for us. And I'm happy to mention my, record my obligation to our esteemed chief guest of honor, Dr. Kalpana Gopalan, IAS, for her valuable special address to all the participants. Thank you very much, madam, for your wonderful talk. And I am very much delighted to thank all the faculty members and all the participants from all over the world to take part in this inauguration and make this event to be a grand success. Thank you, one and all. Thank you very much. Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I request the participant to join with us at 3:30 p.m. for the talk, today's first session.